Hoskins goes on to say the church cannot lend. Here's one of the reasons. The church cannot lend at usury because that's against the word of the Catholic, against the word, and the Catholic Church claims that it is God's representative on earth and custodian of the scriptures. Therefore, to profit from usury, they use the Jews. Jews have no inhibitions about lending to non-Jews. To avoid the charge of using Jews as their agents, the Jews were attached to the kings to be managed. With the king's hand prominently displayed, no one could say that the Jews collected usury for the Pope. Sometimes the pretense was torn away, and the church was found to actually be dealing directly with the Jews. He goes on to say that the Jews appear as abject servants of the Catholic Church. To the Alpha Jews, the door of the church corporation stands wide open. Same thing with the British royal family. Right? It's Lord Rothschild.
Yeah.
Remember?
Right.
Yep. It's Knights of the Garter Rothschild. So the church corporation stands wide open. There are countless Jewish priests, scores of Jewish cardinals and bishops, and some, like Anacleto II, Gregory VI, and Gregory VII, became popes. They were actually Jewish popes.
Okay, that's interesting. I've heard that never was the case, but okay. According to this source, it is. Okay, that's interesting.
Sure. The papacy saw to it, he says, that good care was taken of their charges, and this was true from the earliest days. And then he finally says here that toward the Jews, Pope Gregory, acted with lenity, protecting them from persecution and securing the enjoyment of their legal privileges. You see, there's also been many times when during the pogroms, when the people who are being used like this rose up against these Jewish moneylenders in certain European towns, you know where the Jews would run for sanctuary? When they were leaving their houses and they took all the money, they'd run to the local church and hide inside, and the priest would give them sanctuary.
Right.
Big enemies on paper, but many of them took refuge in Christian churches because they knew that's who the boss was. And that's why you'll see Lord Rothschild receiving the Pope. That's why they have no problem behind the lodge door, working side by side with Italian Catholics and all of this kind of thing. This is what you see.
Okay,
now,
we can move on here. Take a look at the next slide.
Well, the connection between the elite Jews and the royal houses, as I said, is also strong, although it is less known and less spoken of.
Yes.
And then Hugh Stuart Chamberlain, in his book The Foundations of the 19th Century, starts getting to the heart of the point. He says Charlemagne had written to Italy for Jews to manage his finances. Soon as farmers of taxes, they secured for themselves wealth and influence in every direction. And they used these to get important concessions for their people. So Chamberlain is saying that under Christianity, they rose, just as they had with Genghis Khan and just as they had with the Islamic, the Moors. And, Norman Dodd, senator, right, who investigated all of these different organizations, charitable organizations and foundations, he says, now you hear of the Rothschilds in the world of finance, but they are not the originators of the control over finance as their practices or the practices therein. But they have been given a franchise to control the money aspect of the people of the world. In return for their exercising this control and keeping their mouths shut, they are given handsome privileges of money, manipulation, and of course increase their money wealth by leaps and bounds. Okay, so anyone who's dug into this truly, not just superficially, knows that there is a deep connection between the Vatican, the royals, and the Zionist Jews.
Right.
Same thing again from previous guest you had on, Terry Mallinson. He is saying here that the Hesse-Kassel mercenary, blood money, Hesse-Kassel is an elite royal family, the House of Hesse, right?
Yeah.
In turn became the catalyst for the beginning of the Rothschild family fortune. The Jewish Encyclopedia informs us that Nathan Rothschild was on such good terms with the Illuminati Prince Dahlberg that Napoleon made him the member of the Electoral College of Darmstadt in 1810. So they were high flyers, this Rothschilds. But never ever mistake what people say that Lord Rothschild controlled the House of Hesse. Remember we talked about standing things on its head earlier on? Yeah. That's the big counterfeit story. When you read about these moneylenders, Jews, people who don't know what they're talking about, believe that this guy controlled the royal houses. Oh my goodness, product of little knowledge. We must never forget this connection, you see. The Rothschilds were also deeply connected to the Duke d'Orléans and the Charles de Lorraine that we talked about
Right.
Before. Mm. Yeah, Lord Rothschild was told by the Charles de Lorraine to pick up the funding for the Illuminati. And it's that same Illuminati, remember, that had direct power over Madison, Adams, Franklin, and Jefferson, you see, in the American context.
Right.
So the Prince Hesse, his name is Karl of Hesse. I don't know if we have a link there. But he was the head of all the German Freemasons. And along with the Duke of Brunswick, he was a direct member of the Order of the Strict Observance that you were asking about earlier on.
Yeah, okay.
Now, you're telling me that these leading Catholic, Merovingian descended princes of realms are going to be hypnotized by old Svengali Rothschild? They can't get a handle on him. He comes out of his ghetto and comes up there, hunchback with his little money bag, and he's gonna bamboozle these guys. That's what the history books are telling you. Right. That makes sense.
He was using his what's it called, the mythological character of clay to bribe his way.
The golem or whatever.
Yeah, the golem. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's right. The prince was visited at night in his bed, and the voice said, "You must take instruction from from Amschel.
Right,
he will tell you how to rule and govern.
There you go.
Give your money to him. He will invest it correctly." Like these guys they've had empires throughout the world, and they let a guy from the Frankfurt ghetto come and tell them how to be done. And books, Henrik, have been written. This is not a joke. They are written telling you that is the story.
Well, again, just the idea that he was just starting up a bank out of nowhere. How do you get the funding for just starting up a bank? How does that happen? And who gives the permission to start up a bank? Same with the Wallenbergs here in Sweden. Same with the Rothschilds, as you said. So, there's obviously questions there. That's for sure.
Or Rockefeller, or P. Pont Morgan and all of them.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, let's move on.